Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Diana Skaya. Ukraine is pushing for real security guarantees from the United States and Europe, promises that actually work this time. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte warns that past deals like the Budapest Memorandum and the Minsk agreements failed to protect Kyiv. So what will these new guarantees look like, and can Europe and Washington deliver? Well, let's break it down with my next guest here on TVP World, Alberto R. Coll, professor of law at DePaul University. So glad to have you here with us on World Talks. Good evening.
It's wonderful to be with you.
Professor, I want to first begin by quoting you something by the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. Now, this is what he said. There are several principles which Washington believes must be accepted, including no NATO membership, including the discussion of territorial issues, and Zelensky said no to everything. He even said no to canceling legislation prohibiting the Russian language. And how can we meet with a person who is pretending to be a leader? What do you make of all the situation that unfolded and what Sergei Lavrov said?
Well, basically, the Russians have been playing what we know as the good cop, bad cop game. So when President Putin meets privately with President Trump, apparently, President Putin makes it sound as if he agrees with Trump and likes much of what Trump is proposing. And so Trump comes out of these meetings saying, for example, that Putin had agreed to meet with Zelensky, which turned out not to be the case. Also that the United States would offer security guarantees and that Russia had no problems with that, which again did not turn out to be the case. And then, of course, Sergei Lavrov is the bad cop. And he gave a very, very clear statement. It was a cold shower for Mr. Trump and his top negotiator, Mr. Witkoff, saying what the Russians have been saying all along, that they're really not prepared to have a fair settlement with Ukraine. They want to leave Ukraine in a position where it will be a satellite to Russia.
So then what was the point, would you say, of Vladimir Putin attending talks in Alaska with Trump?
Well, he got several big things out of it from his viewpoint. Number one, he got some legitimacy. It was the first time that a senior Western leader, in this case, President Trump, welcomed Putin. Not only did he welcome him to the United States, rolled out literally a red carpet and treated him as a guest of honor. So that for Putin, especially for Putin's domestic audience, is a big deal. It shows that Putin is not isolated, that Putin is not a pariah. Secondly, Putin basically got to ensnare Trump in what will probably turn out to be a drawn-out process of negotiations, talks. Don't rule out another summit, for example, between the two of them, all designed to play for time. And in the meantime, of course, Trump has decided to postpone for now the imposition of severe measures on Russia, which he had said a few weeks ago he was about to put on Russia.
Right.
So Putin has made no concessions, but he got a big concession, which is the delay of whatever severe measures Trump might have had in his mind to impose on Russia. He's playing for time, and in the meantime, Russian military forces keep advancing very slowly, at great cost, but nevertheless, they also keep grinding down Ukraine and keep killing hundreds and thousands of Ukrainian civilians, weakening Ukraine.
So let me ask you this. Is it really, how can we actually imagine any other security guarantees apart from NATO membership and other than the actual permanent presence of Western troops in Ukraine?
Well, I could see a scenario in which, especially, if Ukraine keeps the Donetsk belt, which is, of course, what Putin wants Ukraine to cede. But if Ukraine can keep that very heavily fortified region, which the Russians have not been able to conquer militarily, and if Ukraine comes out with freedom to have as large an army as it wants and to receive as much military aid and to purchase as many weapons as it wants from the United States and Europe, Ukraine could become what people call, I myself have called it, a porcupine state. Think about, for example, the state of Israel. Think about how small Israel is, how vulnerable it is strategically, and yet it's very difficult to attack or conquer Israel because they have turned themselves into a porcupine. Ukraine has the capability to do that very well. In fact, Ukraine also has an advanced arms industry, and it could become very, very difficult for Russia in the future to invade it again. Now, that would require some sort of security guarantees. They don't have to be done through NATO. They could be done bilaterally by individual European countries, let's say the British, the Germans, the French, the Poles, the Swedes, the Finns. All of it, of course, backed up by American power, because the US still has to be involved in terms of providing our European allies with intelligence, with logistics, with air power. And in a situation like that, it'd be very difficult for a future Russian leader, including Putin, to think about reinvading the country. So that's a scenario in which Ukraine could be secure without it formally joining NATO.
Let me ask you this. I mean, Russia also went so far as saying that any guarantees should include China and itself, and that Ukraine is the one to stay neutral. Your take on this?
This is a joke. I mean, this is clearly a joke, and nobody could take this seriously. But you know, Lavrov and Putin like to play these games. They like to push the line. They like to show off how tough they are. And so the idea of bringing China, of course, is a non-starter. China is not a neutral player in this conflict. They have been aiding Russia significantly. Without Chinese support, in fact, Russia still would not be in the game militarily today. So the idea of placing China is a non-starter. But the Russians like to play these diplomatic games. They like to bluff, and they like to push the line and see whether they can get away with any of it.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, Professor, that there's any credible process that's actually going to lead in the near future to a ceasefire?
So realistically, there is not going to be a ceasefire until Russia realizes, until Putin realizes that he cannot win militarily what he wants. The Russians are not there yet. Putin is not there yet. And so it's going to take a lot more military and economic power on the part of the United States and our European allies. Sanctions are going to have to get tougher to really squeeze the Russian economy. This is a good moment to do that because oil prices are very weak, and it would not take much work to really bring down the oil prices to the point where the Russian economy starts screaming. But then secondly, the United States and the Europeans have to provide Ukraine with a lot more weapons, including long-range weapons, to make it very, very painful for Russia. And only until then, you are not going to have a situation where Putin agrees to a ceasefire. He has to become convinced that he cannot win this. Right now, he believes he can. He can just outwear us, that time is on his side, and he can keep playing all these games so that eventually he wins.
And he's also trying to, of course, outsmart everybody that's around him. Thank you so much, Alberto R, Coll, Professor of Law at DePaul University, for breaking it down for us here this evening.
Delighted. Thank you.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.